the way in which BJP leaders, trolls, all kinds of people connected with the ruling party began to attack that journalist, that tells you exactly what is the attitude of the BJP, the BJP government, the Prime Minister towards freedom of the press. The fact that Mr. Modi cannot have a press conference, has not had a single press conference in India. This is perhaps because they sense there is an existential threat. Just as in the media, we feel that it's a do-or-die situation for us. The media has always been commercial, and I think the media has always been under pressure in this country. But what we've seen in the last 9 years since Mr. Narendramodi came to power is a definite escalation in the level of pressure on the media. An American reporter asked a very normal question. And he gave an answer also, but after giving the answer. So I think you're dealing with the Prime Minister and a government who do not want the media to function professionally.
ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ ವೀಕ್ಷಕರೇ, ಪ್ರತಿಧ್ವನಿಗೆ ಸ್ವಾಗತ. ನಾನು ಲಿಖಿತ. ಒಂದಷ್ಟು ಸಮಸ್ಯೆಗಳು, ಒಂದಷ್ಟು ತಾಪತ್ರಯಗಳು ಆಗಾಗಲೂ ಕೂಡ ಭಾರತದ ಮಾಧ್ಯಮದಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾಣಿಸಿಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತದೆ. ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಪತ್ರಿಕೋದ್ಯಮಗಳು ಒಂದು ವಿಚಾರದ ಪರವಾಗಿ ಅಥವಾ ಒಂದು ಅಜೆಂಡದ ಪರವಾಗಿ ಅಥವಾ ಒಂದು ಪಕ್ಷದ ಪರವಾಗಿ ಕೆಲಸವನ್ನು ನಿರ್ವಹಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಇದು ನಿಜಕ್ಕೂ ಕೂಡ ಪತ್ರಿಕೋದ್ಯಮದ ಬಹುದೊಡ್ಡ ದುರಂತ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ತಪ್ಪಾಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಇಂತಹ ಪತ್ರಿಕೋದ್ಯಮದ ನಡುವೆಯೂ ಕೂಡ ತಾವೊಂದು ಸ್ವತಂತ್ರವಾದಂತಹ ಪತ್ರಿಕೋದ್ಯಮವನ್ನು ಆರಂಭ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಆ ಮೂಲಕ ಜನರಿಗೆ ಸತ್ಯ ಏನು ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನ ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಡ್ಬೇಕು, ಪತ್ರಿಕಾ ಧರ್ಮವನ್ನು ನಾವು ಪಾಲನೆ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನುವಂಥ ನಿಟ್ಟಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದಷ್ಟು ಮಹತ್ತರವಾದಂತಹ ಹೆಜ್ಜೆಯನ್ನು ಇಡಲಾಗಿದೆ. ಈ ಹೆಜ್ಜೆಯನ್ನು ಇಟ್ಟಿರುವಂಥವರು ಬೇರೆ ಯಾರೂ ಅಲ್ಲ, ವೈರ್ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಯ ಸಂಸ್ಥಾಪಕರಲ್ಲಿ ಒಬ್ಬರು. ಸೊ ನಮ್ಮ ಜೊತೆ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ, ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ಸ್ವಾಗತ ಸರ್. ವೆಲ್ಕಮ್ ಟು ಪ್ರೋಗ್ರಾಮ್.
ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು.
ಸೊ ವಾಟ್ ಡು ಯು ಥಿಂಕ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ ಇಂಡಿಯನ್ ಜರ್ನಲಿಸಮ್? ಇವತ್ತಿನ ಜರ್ನಲಿಸಮ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಏನು ಅನ್ಸುತ್ತೆ?
I think Indian journalism consists of two parts. One part which is unfortunately the larger part, which has more or less abandoned the work of doing journalism and is happy to pretty much do whatever it is that the government and the most powerful sections in society want them to do. Which is to report things the way the government wants the people to see them, to not ask questions of the government, and to ignore all the great happenings that are happening in this country. That is the dominant section of the media. And then you have a second section, which consists of some newspapers, many websites, many independent freelance reporters, photographers, camera persons, who are doing the difficult work of reporting what is happening in this country. So media is in two parts, and it's impossible to speak of them as a whole anymore, or to speak of one journalism in India, because that doesn't exist.
A lot of people saying the Indian media is commercialized. Is that true?
See, commercialization has been there for a long time. This is not new. In any free market economy where the media is owned by private companies, it will be commercialized, right? Because these are not charity organizations.
Sir, is that good for journalism?
Whether good or bad, this is the reality. But what I'm trying to say is that there are many examples of countries around the world where you have commercial media, but where commercial media is still able to function in a professional manner. You look at US media, for example. US media has all kinds of problems. But I would say that in terms of professional conduct, most of the large US newspapers, TV channels perform much better than their Indian counterparts, even though both of them are privately owned. Right? So the issue is not so much that they are commercial or that they are run by private companies or that they are for profit rather than non-profit. But the issue is, what is it that the owners want out of this media platform? Are they looking at it as a way of building influence, as a way of blackmailing, as a way of helping their other businesses? Are they looking at it as a way of currying favor with the government? Or do they believe in the importance of journalism as a profession and as a trade? And I think that the bulk of Indian media proprietors, sadly, at least going by their conduct, are not really committed to journalism as an industry. They look at it purely as just another business. And I think a lot of the problems come in because of this attitude of theirs. Besides the fact that I don't think institutionally the Indian legal system and the Indian political system are strongly in favor of independent media or professional media, which is why it becomes much more difficult for proprietors who want to be professional to actually be professional. There's always the fear that if you do your job thoroughly, then there could be an income tax raid, there could be enforcement directed pressure, there could be some official or government pressure or the other, which
Do you
then
think now
compromises.
current government is doing the blackmailing the media?
I think the media has always been commercial, and I think the media has always been under pressure in this country. But what we've seen in the last 9 years since Mr. Narendramodi came to power is a definite escalation in the level of pressure on the media. And this takes all kinds of forms. We've seen, say in the case of the Dainik Bhaskar group, that this was a newspaper chain that reported the pandemic's effect in Uttar Pradesh very boldly. And the result was a few months later that there were tax raids. And there are examples of this kind that you can see where proprietors have come under pressure, others have been raided. In Kashmir, our colleagues, some of them have been arrested under the anti-terror law.
So you agree with the Modi government misusing the central?
The Modi government is opposed to freedom of the press. It is. And even though the constitution guarantees it, even though for the last 75 years we've lived in a country that has prided itself in being democratic and having an independent free press, I don't think the Prime Minister places any value in independent media. I think he said in his interview in that BBC documentary that the one regret he had about 2002 violence was that he did not manage the media properly. And by manage the media, he means did not ensure that the media did not report the truth. Right? So I think you're dealing with the Prime Minister and a government who do not want the media to function professionally. You saw in Washington when the Prime Minister went for his meeting with Biden, right? An American reporter asked a very normal question. And he gave an answer also, but after giving the answer, the way in which BJP leaders, trolls, all kinds of people connected with the ruling party began to attack that journalist, that tells you exactly what is the attitude of the BJP, the BJP government, the Prime Minister towards freedom of the press. The fact that Mr. Modi cannot have a press conference, has not had a single press conference in India in the 9 years he has been Prime Minister. This tells you what his attitude towards freedom of the press is.
Is there necessity to Prime Minister address the media?
It is necessary for the Prime Minister to be accountable, right? So you have to be. So Prime Ministers are not kings or emperors; they are accountable. And in a democracy, accountability takes many forms. One is that you are accountable to Parliament, but we see that the Prime Minister does not speak in Parliament. He does not encourage debate, does not take questions. Two, you are accountable to other branches of government, for example, the CAG's office or election commission when it comes to the conduct of elections. But we see that the CAG, the EC, they refuse to implement the law when it comes to dealing with somebody like the Prime Minister. Then you are accountable in terms of the media, because at the end of the day, it's the media on whom people rely to understand official policies, to ask questions about them, seek clarifications from them. And if we are not able to put basic questions to the Prime Minister, we are not asking these questions to show how great we are. We need to ask these questions because the public has a right to know. That, for example, this week the Supreme Court is dealing with the remission of the sentence of Bilkis Bano's rapists and killers, right? And we want to know that Mr. Modi, last year on August 15th, 2022, you said very nice things about respecting women and so on and so forth. But then the same day your government, central government, authorized the Gujarat government to release these people who were guilty of heinous crimes like rape and murder of this woman and her family. What is your answer? I'm sure Mr. Modi has an answer. But we haven't. The fact that we've not been able to put that question to him is something which I think affects badly the right of the people of India to know. And I think that to that extent, yes, the PM has an obligation in a democracy to be available to take questions and answer what is happening in terms of his policies, so that public gets to know and public gets to ask those questions indirectly through the media.
Okay, in Indian media, is supporting to the BJP or what? Why I'm asking this question? Because of a lot of Indian media far to the central government, and they are broadcasting the news for the central government. Is that a right way in Indian media?
You see, in no country should the media support. I mean, the media should not define itself as a section that has to support the government or even oppose the government.
Okay.
The media's job is to report what is happening and to ask questions that people in power may or may not like to be asked. Right? So that is the definition.
Okay.
It's possible that you report something in a professional way and the government likes it. That's fine. It may be that you report something in a professional way and the government doesn't like it. That should also be fine. But in India, sadly, the way the bulk of the media operates, they are functioning like a mouthpiece of the Bharatiya Janata Party. What is worse is that not only are they supporting or defending the government, but we see in the case of many channels, they are playing an active role in implementing the BJP's agenda when it comes to targeting of Muslims, polarizing Indians on the basis of religion, creating this kind of communal disharmony. This is the RSS and BJP's agenda. Why should media be promoting that? But you see night after night in all the big channels, the kind of debates they have, the kind of reports they put out, the kind of biased or fake news that they publish, they're very clearly furthering this agenda. So yes, the reality is that a major section of this country's media has, takes pride in functioning as a mouthpiece of the government and the ruling party, which is the BJP.
Do you think Mr. Modi government have the exact opposition parties or strongest opposition parties?
You see, it's not for me to comment on the quality of opposition or not. There's, recently we saw the opposition coming together to form this alliance called India, and this is perhaps because they sense there is an existential threat. Just as in the media, we feel that it's a do-or-die situation for us. The way in which new rules are being introduced, for example, the IT rules, which allow the government to declare any news item as fake and order that to be taken down. This is completely anti-democratic. It goes against the constitution. And it tells you what the government and what Mr. Modi has in plan for the next few years. So if he gets re-elected, you can expect a further escalation of the attack on media to the extent to which it becomes a question as to whether the media in India, free media, can survive or not. Similarly, political parties in the opposition probably are feeling the same thing, because he has used the Enforcement Directorate, the income tax authorities, the CBI to target one opposition leader after the other. And perhaps they see the writing on the wall. Whether they are strong enough, whether they are united enough, this is the question only they can answer.
ಹೆಚ್ಚಿನ ವಿಡಿಯೋಗಳಿಗೆ ಪ್ರತಿಧ್ವನಿ ಯೂಟ್ಯೂಬ್ ಚಾನೆಲ್ ಸಬ್ಸ್ಕ್ರೈಬ್ ಮಾಡಿ, ಬೆಲ್ ಐಕಾನ್ ಕ್ಲಿಕ್ ಮಾಡಿ.